Coming up on What It Takes.
So you have banking, you have management, you have English teaching now.
Yeah.
I know you also mentioned you went to film school
I went
also.
to film school, yeah. When I was in Japan, and Japan was really crazy for me, right? Like I said, I went through a whole range of emotions. The idea was to always do it for a year and then come back and do my master's. I ended up doing 2 years. And while I was there, I was actually applying for my master's. And then I thought about what really makes me happy. What do I want to do? And it was to do film. And if you ask me what my plan was before, it would be like go to Japan, teach English, come back to a master's, and then go back and find employment in the UK or Europe or wherever.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, let me follow what my passion is, which was film. I was really into film. I really wanted to understand the mechanics behind it, to really understand the industry. So I bought a ticket to New York. I applied to film school in New York. I studied film for a year, and then I worked in film for a year.
Wow, and film, I mean, that's a creative industry. That's like a whole, going from banking to film, I feel like is totally different.
Yeah, totally different. Totally, totally different emotions as well. I think the best buzz I get was on a film set. When we were shooting, you get your call sheet, you have to be on set at 3 o'clock in the morning. It doesn't matter to me the time, 4 o'clock in the morning, you can work, you work like 20-hour days. You can set up a shot just because you're looking for the right light. So, all these kind of things come into play. I would get such a buzz when I was on set. The part that I loved the most was gripping and being gaffer, so working with the lights and the electrics. That part, like if I was on set, that's what I loved to do. When they found out I had a degree in management and economics and everything, they quickly moved me to back office and moved me to production. They're like, all right, crunch some numbers, but make sure we're doing this right. So I worked on
the ceiling.
exactly. So I worked on various projects in various capacities. It was a lot of fun. It was definitely the highlight. New York was also, a great city, so I highlighted of my life being there at the time.
Do you have like the biggest learning from your kind of dabble in film, or like is this something you're going to go back to? I mean.
So I'd love to go back. And so when I came back to Kenya, I actually thought at the time to try and get myself involved here. It was 2008. It was probably too early. Now I see a lot more opportunity there. Mm-hmm. But of course now I'm busy with other things. It's still a passion for me. I still love it. I still love the concept. What I love about filmmaking, again from a directorial point of view, is that you can share your story. You know what I mean? And I think content in Kenya is so important. Mm-hmm. And if we're able to produce original content, which is what you're doing, it's amazing, right? It's amazing for the economy. It's amazing. There's so many great stories that we can tell.
Mm. Yeah. Do you think that's a big gap? Are there other big gaps? I mean, you have an experience living abroad, kind of getting educated out there, bringing in some knowledge from external teachers, leaders in the industry. Like, is there one thing that you would tell the film students out there now to say, like, hey, maybe we should look at this, or here's a niche in the market that's not being filled that they can kind of position themselves for well? Do you see any kind of pattern like that in the film industry in Kenya right now?
I think the film industry in Kenya is definitely evolving. It's getting better. Obviously, the biggest issue in the beginning was a quality issue and a skills issue, which I think we have. I think there's a lot of talented filmmakers now who are here who understand the concept of of generally how to tell a story well, how to pace the story, how to correct the story, and get their point across. They could probably teach me more than I could teach them. So yeah, I'll probably come back to film school again.
That's amazing. Yeah, the stuff that people are producing, I mean, people are moving to YouTube generation now, everybody's online, so I'm also hoping that, more guys out there will start following their passion too to get into that creative industry.
Absolutely, and YouTube's changed the whole landscape, right? How we absorb content, how we react to content, it's totally different. Now, it makes it easy. I mean, even for us to be able to film ourselves now, back then when I came, everyone needed a big camera. We wanted to get filmed, so the equipment costs were really hard to get into. But because we're lowering those barriers to entry, if you're talented, if you're passionate, if you're skillful, if you have a story to tell, you're in it. Absolutely, why not?
Wow. Okay, cool. So film. I'm trying to track as we go, right?
Okay.
No, film. Good. Let's talk about your entrepreneurship stuff. I mean, what happened? You kind of plunged and you came back to Kenya. This was a whole new. I mean, how did you jump off this proverbial cliff?
So I came back to Kenya. My father was actually sick, so he was diagnosed with cancer.
Oh, sorry.
And I'd come back to just to be with him. And when I was here, it was very clear that he wasn't going to make it. And so I had to make a decision whether to join the family business or go back. And I decided to join the family business. So we run one of the oldest restaurants in Nairobi. In fact, probably the first Chinese restaurant in Nairobi. My grandfather came here. My Chinese grandfather, came here when he was 16 years old. He was escaping the World War II in Hong Kong. He'd gone on a boat by himself. He landed in India. He didn't like it. Got on the boat again, landed in Mombasa. As a 16-year-old, no money in his pocket, no family, nothing. Came by himself, and he made this his home. He built his business, and eventually, when he retired, he opened a restaurant. So there was a lot of legacy there. And you know, for me, I was like, I wouldn't want to see it go. So at the time, a lot of emotion as well, right? You have to imagine, like, my father's on his sick bed, on his deathbed. There's a lot of family who are involved in the business, so I was like, okay, I'll join. And I did that I still do that now, actually. So I'm still very heavily involved in that. But 3 years down the line, in 2011, I was getting married. A friend of mine had come to visit me, my co-founder Nicholas. I was looking for an apartment at the time. It was incredibly frustrating. And we talked about, how does this work in Mauritius, because that's where he's from. And we talked about starting an internet portal. And that's how Byron Kenya came to be. So we were at Art Cafe, having wine in the afternoon, talking about how difficult it
4
is.
p.m. wine.
Absolutely, yeah. Rosé 30.
Yeah.
How difficult it is to find property, and we're like, well, how would we do it? How could we make this more efficient? And that's how we decided to start Byron Kenya.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So what was the first thing you were like, all right, we need to do this? What was that first barrier that you had to cross as Byron Kenya started?
So the first barrier, I think with all entrepreneurs, and again, I probably struggle with this every time I have a new idea, is to actually get up and do it. To have an idea is very easy.
Yeah.
Everyone can look at something and be like, there's a problem here, or this is where the flow is not happening. To actually get up and say, I'm going to do this, that's probably the hardest step first. For me, it was a fresh challenge. It was time for a fresh challenge in my life. So I called him up, I think 4 months later. He was back in Mauritius. I was like, I'm serious, let's do it. I bought a ticket, went to Mauritius. None of us are dead, so we can't code or write script. I don't even know if that's correct.
I don't either.
Anyway, so we got...
All of the non-technical co-founders of tech companies.
So I wrote stuff down on a piece of paper, found a tech company, and like, I want you to build me this. This is what it looks like.
Oh, it was like a whole user flow, like wireframes?
Yeah, basically wireframes, basically page by page. We took a whole A3 sheet of paper, like 100 of them, and wrote, this is what the homepage looks like, this, if you press this button, this is what this goes to, and really built it around there.
And that was driving from your experience and your frustration finding
yeah, so the idea was, I think the concept at the time was, and of course when we started to where we are now is very different, and where we have to go is still a long way. But I think when we started it was like, what would the user flow be? How do you bring someone who's looking for property onto our website? How do you make it easy for them to search? What would they search for? What type of categories if they search for this? What's the user experience, basically? And then when we launched, I think the other problem was, how do you get agents and developers in this market to advertise with you online? How do you get them to understand the benefits?
This is a learning curve, right? Like that, yeah.
Absolutely.
You guys were the first ones in this.
We were actually the second one, so there was one existing before us, but I think very quickly within 6 months we had become number one on all metrics. So it was an interesting journey.
Wow.
There.
How did you get your developers then? I think that's a big question a lot of founders ask them, especially the non-technicals.
Yes. So we've still struggled. I mean, I think we had a situation where we had investment, which is great, and then we kind of absorbed their technology. And just now again this year we're changing it, so we have a developer in-house, but we're always looking, which is why we're always in contact with you guys.
Yes!
Because you help us do that stuff, which for me is really difficult. Honestly, as a CEO both of Byron Kenya and at Tintin, finding talent is probably the most difficult thing. And the service you guys provide helps plug that gap for us.
Thank you. Amazing. I mean, glad we can help right now.
Stay tuned. What It Takes will be right back after the break.